Joining us live is the Shadow Minister for Education, Tanya Plibersek. Tanya, good morning. Good to see you. So the government at pains to suggest that a great deal of the responsibility of these higher inflation numbers is as a result of international factors. That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, well, who's surprised that Scott Morrison's saying it's not his fault, something went wrong, and looking around for someone to blame? It's well worth remembering, of course, there are international pressures on the Australian economy and the global economy, but well before the Ukraine crisis, well before COVID-19, this government had already doubled debt. They'd been complaining about debt and deficit, the debt and deficit disaster, they doubled the debt. And we know that wages, this isn't a recent problem, wages haven't risen in 8 years. And this is one of the longest periods with no wages growth that we've seen in living memory. These are problems that pre-existed the Ukraine, and we need to do something to take the pressure off families. We need to do something permanent, like Labor's plan to permanently lower childcare costs, like Labor's plan to permanently lower energy prices for Australian families. And we need to do something about wages. This government has deliberately kept wages low. They said it was part of their economic architecture. Their finance minister said this is a deliberate design feature of our economic architecture. Low wages are there because this government has managed the economy in a way to keep wages low. So to take a bit of pressure off families, we need to do something about the cost of living, and we need to see wage rise.
But Labor, yes, it promises bigger wage increases, but Labor can't guarantee that, can it? As interest rates rise and the full fuel excise returns in 5 months, there's no way to guarantee wage rises, is there?
Well, interest rates will go up, and it doesn't matter who's elected, and the only person dishonest enough to suggest anything different is Scott Morrison. Every economist, every bank in the country is factoring in an interest rate rise. But yeah, there are things that we can do to help with wages. I mean, we can support the wage claims of underpaid workers like those in aged care. You know, they deserve a decent rate of pay. Who would be doing this difficult, physically taxing, emotionally difficult work for $23 an hour? Of course they deserve a pay increase. We can criminalise wage theft. This government voted against criminalising wage theft. We can make sure that two people working next to each other doing the same job get the same job, same pay. We need to make sure that dodgy labour hire firms aren't undercutting the wages of Australian workers. So yes, there are things that we can do to see wage rises, particularly as we invest in the productivity of our economy. Like we want to see businesses doing well. If we invest in our people, 465,000 free TAFE places, 20,000 extra university places, if we give people the opportunity of upgrading their skills, they're able to do work that is paid more. We know that families would often be working, or quite often it's mum, would be working a fourth or a fifth day a week, but they can't afford the childcare. So by reducing the cost of childcare, it means that people can work more hours during the week. So yes, there is a lot we can do to reduce the pressures that families are facing. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned at the beginning of the segment that this is emerging as an election issue. This has been the issue the whole time. Wages and cost of living is what people have been talking to me about everywhere I go. Yesterday in Eden Monero with Christy McBain, she asked a room full of people, who here feels better off after 3 years of Scott Morrison? Not one hand went up, and people were so quick to say, wages are down, cost of living's up, their schools are falling behind, the local hospital's under pressure. People are feeling the pressure.
Wouldn't the numbers be worse, though, if Labor had its way with its figures by extending JobKeeper and even paying people to go and get vaccinated? Wouldn't inflation or the numbers be worse?
Honestly, you have got to be kidding. This is a government that spent $5.5 billion cancelling a submarine contract. And this is a government that has wasted billions of dollars on sports rorts, car park rorts, on all sorts of dodgy government programs. This is a government that still, after almost a decade in power, can't agree on how to get energy prices and pollution down by getting more renewables into our energy market. This is a government that, as I say, had doubled the debt before COVID-19 hit and now is heading towards $1 trillion of debt with very little to show for it.
Tanya Plibersek, some quarters have accused you of going missing, of even being benched over the past couple of weeks during this election campaign. Where have you been?
Well, here I am on your show. Yesterday I was in Monero.
Some would say there hasn't been enough of that.
Today I'm off to Boothby and the following day I'm in northern Tasmania. I'm in marginal seats every single day, listening to people tell me that life's got harder under Scott Morrison and telling them about Labor's plan to make sure that they get a decent pay increase, that the services are there when they need them, childcare, aged care, Medicare are there when they need them, that we are building and making things here in Australia so that we've got more Australian jobs. That's what I'm doing every day, and working hard for the election of an Albanese Labor government.
Okay. Well, on that, when do you expect him back on the campaign trail?
Oh, look, soon I hope. Our campaign launch is supposed to be this Sunday. Obviously, I'm very much hoping he's well enough for that. We did have a telephone meeting yesterday, and Anthony sounded pretty good on that. So we've all got our fingers crossed that he'll be back on the campaign trail soon.
Okay, Tanya Plibersek, thanks for your time as always. We'll talk to you soon.